Now? Okay, sorry. We had to wait for the start. So my name's Christain. We're talking about hyper-converged or hybrid cloud infrastructure today. How many of you are familiar with the term of hyper-converged? Just raise a hand, okay? So have you made own experience with existing products so far? None? How about you guys? Have you? Okay. So if you compare it to something very basic to a human being, like going to a restaurant, I guess everybody here has been to a restaurant already, once in their lifetime. So if you go out there, you typically get a drink and some food. So what happens if you're thirsty? You order the whole food again, or you just go for the drink? Typically, you would opt in for the drink. And that is one ultimately difference in what we see as a hyper-converged infrastructure, because it has to bring you a couple of must-have features. One of them is it has to be flexible, like going into that restaurant where you just order the next or second or third drink without having to buy another steak or having to buy another plate of food. It's like in our solution where you can just decide where you want to start. Do you want to start in the compute layer? Do you want to start at the storage layer? And in which way you want to accelerate or grow your own infrastructure. Especially if you deploy more VMs that require CPU or memory, you don't want to buy an additional hard drive. And the other way around, if your VMs just grow and you don't need additional CPUs, you don't want to be burdened with buying additional licenses. The next thing is most people see the cloud as something that you can easily do in your own data center. My boss used to come to me and say, Christain, can you do that Amazon thing in our own data center? I'm like, of course, just give me $1 million and I build one. But I never got that €1 million. So we just got the hardware that we used to have. And he said, do something good with it and bring it to life and build our own cloud internally. 6 years ago, that was quite impossible because there weren't any real HCI products out there that would match these features. The next thing is, if I want to deploy my applications locally in the cloud or at a service provider, I don't want to touch 25 management tools. I want to have a single pane of glass, and I just want to touch the data once, but keep it agile. Today, it might be good to run locally. Tomorrow, the European Union might think of some new GDPR rules that say, you can't run it local, you have to run it in the cloud at a certified data center, and would force me to bring it into the cloud. But how do I move my data in there? Do I have to change the way I'm using my data? And I might want to use some of these hyperscaler features, like adding CPU when I need it for the monthly or quarterly calculations, but not pay for it every day. So for us, HCI is something you can buy very, very easily. Of course, somebody has to sell a product, so that makes it easy to consume. But the setup itself should be nothing that would put a burden on you as a customer. So how much time do you think it would take to set up an HCI solution like this? Just a rough estimate. What would you think? A day, a week, a month? No clue? Okay. So basically the normal time is you could do it between breakfast and lunch. That is the approximate time our customers take, and that is the time frame we see as something that you would put in your own data center instead of kicking off a 6-month project that would never end or cause too much trouble. And one thing that my boss always used to say is the one throat to choke. You don't want to deal with 5 parties if a problem comes. Hardware itself is very easy. It's binary. Either it works or it doesn't. But if it comes to software and performance issues, there is no, it only works half. It's like being pregnant. You can't be half pregnant. Either you are pregnant or you're not. So we want to give you the ability to have a single contact. You just call NetApp, because we have a back-to-back agreement with VMware, because we're partners. So you can opt to open the ticket on either platform. You just call NetApp and say, I got a problem. That is as far as detailed error description as we require. Of course, we will ask you for log files. We would ask you what the real problem is, but we will fix it for you. Whether it is a hardware problem, is it in our software stack, or if it's inside of your VMware environment. And the next thing, it needs to work as a pay-as-you-grow. We don't want to force you to know what you might need in 5 years in terms of hardware. We don't know by ourselves what we need tomorrow in terms of data storage. If you size something, it's like going for a weather forecast. You would say, well, the last 5 years I've used 5 terabytes a month, so I will continue to do so the next 5 years. What happens if you need 10 terabytes? You have to run to your boss again and have to ask for more money, which typically leads to discussions, questions, why didn't you foresee this? So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to run this. And if you look at the hyper-converged market, a lot of people are seeing hyper-converged as something for small and remote or branch offices. It is not. We've asked existing customers. The main thing for them is to simplify their infrastructure, to go away from thinking or deciding or configuring too much. This is the #1 thing for them. And the other one is to accelerate their provisioning. They don't want to wait 2 or 3 weeks to have that single virtual machine. They just want to go like this. They don't want to run a ticket or file a ticket and have someone from support. Do you really need that VM? They want to have their own, I would call it, it's like a bank account. You can use 10 terabytes of storage, you can use 25 gigabytes of memory, and then there's 30,000 gigahertz of CPU power that you can use. But we don't ask you what you want to do with it. You can simply consume and put it where you need it at the time you need it. And the least thing people want is those remote offices. Because normally a single ESX machine is all you need, but the thing is you want to move your data between the branch and the headquarter. And you need that agility. Because the way infrastructure is consumed changes. So in the old world, you had single tenants. One silo for databases, one silo for file services. Do you have that in the cloud? Does Amazon have a file service data center? They typically don't. They put everything on a single platform, and it needs to support multi-tenancy. So HR can't see the marketing files, you can't see the CEO files. It needs to be secure, but it needs to support multi-tenancy. It needs to be isolated, and we're using a technology there that is called quality of service. I guess most of you have been stuck in traffic on their way to work, on their way home from VMworld. We will all love to go to that airport, and everybody has to queue up. And then there's lovely old lady in front of you who will unravel all the things. And you would wish for a bypass, where you can simply accelerate or skip that queue. This is something we do with quality of service. You can run all your applications on the same internal or external cloud, but they will not interfere with each other. You can simply deploy as many as you want, and you are in control. So you can define the left lane is for the fast applications, for example, VDI. A Horizon View virtual machine requires specific latency. You don't want to have 25 milliseconds of latency in your desktop, because then you could ghost type, grab a coffee, come back, and the text will appear. But on the file service, latency doesn't really matter that much. So you can combine them on the same infrastructure without that problem. Today, you wouldn't put your test environment on your productive cloud. You would typically separate that. You don't need to anymore, because there's software that will help you. Because most of the challenges we see from our own customers is they want to deliver applications faster. So they want to run automated testings. Any software companies out here who produce their own software? You? So you're just the consumer of infrastructure or the provider? Okay. But you want to operate it like a public cloud. You want to have the same features like that Amazon stuff or that Google stuff. It needs to be nice, shiny, and should work all the time. And you want to do something that is called prediction. You want to know exactly what happens if you buy something. Because if you buy something that is fast, you want to experience this fast. Because otherwise you would be mad at the salesperson who sold it to you. So for us, these 3 things are the main features of our product. It is predictable, because you know upfront what are you getting. If you buy that 500 grams of pure filet steak, you want to have 500 grams, not 200 grams efficient steak. It needs to be the full amount. It needs to be fast, so you don't want to have that conversation with the support guy saying, it's Monday and we saw a full moon, so you can't get the whole performance. It needs always be fast. It should be flexible. So you could add CPU power when you need it, and you could add storage when you need it. But you don't have to be adding both at the same time unless you really require them. And it needs to be simple. So I tested the product at my mother. She's 65 and a bank accountant, so she fails at an iPad, but she was able to install and maintain that solution. So everybody needs to be able to run it. The other thing we do is we do not want to force customers onto our very own user interface. The people are familiar with the vCenter. We give them a plugin that lets them control all the features of the product from within the vCenter. There might be customers who say, no, I don't want to. I rather have a secondary UI, or I have my own scripts. I want to use PowerShell, I want to use the PowerCLI, or somebody who even wants to run their own Java application. They can. We do not force them to. You can consume it in two areas. One of them is the traditional HCI that combines the CPU power and the storage. But you also have the option to simply buy storage. If you need more storage than compute, we give you 1 rack unit machines that are within the same product line that work together. And they scale as much and as high as you need. So you could start very low at 4 or 6 nodes and can grow up to 100 if needed. So our main idea with this product is to give you the ability to mix and match each different product line. So you don't have to stick with one product line forever. You can start with the smaller ones that are not that fast. You can move into the bigger ones, which are a lot faster. So you're never at that point where we have to say, oh, sorry, you bought the last year's model. You can't combine this with the current model. So you can always mix and match them, even beyond hardware generations, just to keep your own cloud running. As a matter of fact, we have customers running 6 generations of hardware within the same cloud infrastructure. So you don't have to throw away all the old stuff and simply purchase new one. From an integration point of view, we at NetApp do something that is called the data fabric. You know, you can't buy a data fabric. That is the language that our products speak internally, so each product is able to talk to each other. There are no silos within our technology. Similar to VMware, where you can just vMotion machines around in a vCenter, you can do the same on the storage. They can all talk to each other. So your branch office would typically not require all-flash performance. But your headquarter, they really need that performance. But you might want to interchange virtual machines. Or you want to keep a cold standby backup at a service provider, but at the push of a button, you want to turn that on if some disaster strikes you. This is possible without even buying additional software or hardware. You can simply connect the products. Very small start. So as we are separating the compute stuff from the storage stuff, you can choose where you want to start. Maybe your servers are written off already and you need to replace them. Then you start down with the compute stuff. Or your servers are brand new because you just bought them last year and you need to wait another 3 years, but want to start with HCI now. You can simply start and kick off that project with storage only. And from there, you simply grow as you need it. No need to purchase upfront your requirements for the next 5 to 10 years. You can simply scale as you go, similar as going into a restaurant and ordering the 3rd, 4th Coke. And of course, it works non-disruptively. So you never need to take down that infrastructure. You never need to stop that cloud environment. You can simply grow it or even shrink it if you need to. So if you need to move between data centers, you simply shut down node by node, move it to another location and power them back up. No data loss, no nothing. The same for the operational burden for your teams. At least once a quarter, somebody will release new software and you have to install that. And the last thing you want to do is shut down everything. You just want to do it while the system is running. You don't even have to do it by yourself. You can simply call us and we will do it for you. Even the VMware upgrades, if you hate them. So the main difference for us is, from a technology standpoint, we are more flexible, we are more simple, and we offer more performance and more consolidation as traditional infrastructure. From a portfolio standpoint, all the products can talk to each other. And for us, we don't care about the protocol you want to speak. If you want to speak iSCSI, fine, speak iSCSI to us. If you want to speak CIFS or NFS, because you have that one file share or that server requiring NFS data, simply include it into your running cloud. But there's more on the horizon. As you've seen in the keynote yesterday, the world is becoming more and more hybrid. So people expect that cloud provider experience that they've seen outside in their own data center. So what we did is we give you the ability to run cloud-like infrastructure, whether it is off-premise at one of the larger hyperscalers, or if it is on-premise in your own data center. That means you can deploy applications, you can deploy workloads directly where they are required and where they make the most sense for you. To test something, to really check it out quickly, it might make sense to rent it at AWS. Do your testing and then decide whether you want to run it or not. Or if you need to start internally and need that CPU power once a month to run your calculations. You don't want to purchase 10,000 servers to do your sales forecasts and other stuff. So this would be a requirement for the cloud. And we give you the ability to, what we call is a region. A region for us is off-premise or on-premise. So you could deploy these applications in your own region. That region would be your data center, or that region would be Azure, Google, AWS, or others. And I will go a bit quicker because I have 1.5 minutes left, I guess. So we have a portal that is called Cloud Central. That is cloud.netapp.com. And you can simply go in there. There's a demo account for each customer. And you can simply try it out. Anyone here tested around or played with containers yet? Kubernetes, Docker, or something? It's all built in there. And if you don't want to create your own Kubernetes cluster, you simply go in there and run it. We also have something called Cloud Sync or SaaS backup. This will back up your Office 365 directly, either to you on-premise, or it will keep the backup in the cloud. What we can also do is we give you the ability to run that in different clouds. And one of the most coolest features, you know it from your iPhone, it's called the App Store. You can simply run enterprise applications or your own applications within the cloud. So you create a manifest, upload it to our cloud, and off you go with a simple push of a button. If you want to know a little bit more about our solutions, we have hard and software in the next hall. Find us. We're the third booth on the right side in bright blue. I'd be more than happy to discuss with you in person. Thank you very much for your attendance, and have a great VMworld.